What is up, guys? It is Coasters and Things here today, and it is that time again, time where I count down my personal top 25 favorite roller coasters that I have ridden. The last time I did this list was 2 years ago, and since then my coaster count has almost doubled from what it was back then. I've now ridden over 400 roller coasters, so when you've ridden that many, ranking your top 25 is a huge ask. All of these rides are phenomenal, and I definitely had a hard time with this list. With that being said, I've done my best to put together what my personal top 25 favorite roller coasters are. I will be going through these relatively quickly. With that said, let's waste no more time and get right into it. Kicking off the list at number 25 is Goliath at Six Flags Over Georgia. This is a B&M Hyper with a very unconventional layout. This one goes outside the park, has a crazy helix midway through the ride, and ends with several small airtime hills that really send you flying out of your seat. The downside with this ride is that it is a bit rattly, but if you can look past that, it is great. I know for many people this is their favorite B&M Hyper, and I can understand why. It has a very strong layout. Number 24 is the first wooden coaster on the list, Mystic Timbers at Kings Island. This is my favorite GCI wooden coaster as of now, and every time I ride this ride, I am blown away by how good it is. It's super smooth with good airtime and phenomenal pacing. The shed at the end is rather lackluster, but it's still better than nothing at all on the brake run. Mystic Timbers was better than I think everyone expected it to be when it came out. It's not the longest ride in the world, but it's so re-rideable. After you get off, you just want to get back in line and go again. Number 23 is Superman the Ride at Six Flags New England. It's been well over 5 years since I rode this, but I'll never forget the experience I had on this ride. I rode this coaster in the front row, and it instantly made it into my top 10. Now that I've ridden a lot more coasters, this ride has fallen quite a bit, but I still acknowledge how great of a layout this ride has. One of the great layouts of all time. Now the one turnoff for this ride is the U-brick lap bars. That being said, they didn't bother me as much as they bother other people. If you can look past the restraints, this ride is fantastic. Taking the number 22 spot is Orion at Kings Island. This is the first Giga coaster to make the list. It isn't as tall or as long as the other Giga coasters, but it is still a really good ride. It's fairly smooth, has a great first drop, and you feel a great sense of speed on it, as with all Giga coasters. You can also gray out in the helix towards the end of the ride. It's not a super long coaster, but it gives a very enjoyable ride experience. I've always enjoyed Orion, and this was my 200th roller coaster a few years ago. Number 21 is Candymonium at Hershey Park. I got the chance to ride this B&M Hyper a lot 2 summers ago, and it never got old. The first drop in the back is exactly what every B&M Hyper drop should feel like. There's a lot of good floater airtime on this ride. It's butter smooth, and I like the helix around the Hershey's fountain at the front of the park. It makes for a great visual. My favorite moment is actually the speed hill in the middle of the ride. What a great addition this was to Hershey Park with Chocolate Town in 2020. Just barely one-upping Candymonium is Mako at SeaWorld Orlando, my favorite B&M Hyper. I had a really hard time deciding between this and Candymonium, but I gave it to Mako because it is a bit longer. That 5-second floater hill is crazy sustained, and I really like how it passes over the water to end the ride. I was super excited to finally ride this last year, and it did not disappoint. Also, this has one of my all-time favorite color schemes on any roller coaster. Mako is a must-ride for any coaster enthusiast. Number 19 is Sky Rush at Hershey Park. The first time I went in to ride this, I was legit scared because of how everyone had said this thing has horrible restraints. I discovered that if you just hold on to your lap bar for dear life, don't do hands in the air, it is possible to not have your thighs get crushed. This coaster is crazy intense. The first drop feels like 2 drops in one. It's like you're going down and then it just yanks you down even farther. The airtime is ridiculous. There is a bit of a rattle to this ride, but it's still so intense it didn't take away from it for me. Number 18 is one of the newest additions to my top 25, X2 at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Before this ride, I had only ever gotten to experience the free spins, so I didn't have a high opinion of 4th dimension coasters prior to X2. Well, let me tell you, I sat on the left side, outside seat, in the middle of the train, and it was still unbelievable. The flips were good, the fire was working, and I was physically shook when we hit that brake run. I was just asking myself what all had happened. Now, was it rough on the outside seat? Yes, but I didn't care one bit. This ride was one of my top bucket list coasters for over 5 years, so it was surreal finally getting to experience it. It's the signature ride at Magic Mountain, and you can see why. X2 is a ride that you can't really describe. You have to go out and ride it for yourself to know what it's like. Number 17 is Outlaw Run at Silver Dollar City. I got the chance to go back and experience this RMC again this year, and this ride is crazy. It was the first wooden coaster to go upside down 3 times and really changed the game for wooden coasters. You got a super steep drop, a wave turn, and loads of airtime as well. I love the terrain interaction that this coaster has in its layout. Now beware that this ride is pretty rough, but if you can tolerate it, this ride really is awesome. Also, this coaster's theme is really cool too. Number 16 is Pantheon at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. This is the latest and greatest Intamin multi-launch coaster in America, and this ride does so much stuff right. First off, the backwards launch on this ride is crazy. You get backwards ejector airtime, which was legit scary to me. I'd never experienced that before. Love the top hat, the spike, and the outer bank. Also, the whip in and out of the stall is unbelievable. There's not a single bad moment on this ride. Pantheon does so much for BGW's coaster lineup. Making the top 15 is Ghost Rider at Knott's Berry Farm. Going into this ride, I expected it to be good, but not this good. This has one of the best layouts ever for a wooden coaster. From the moment you leave the lift hill, this ride hauls all the way through its layout. It never lets up. It is also incredibly long. It has so much airtime, laterals, and is incredibly smooth. The drop off the mid-course is insane as well. Before I rode this for the first time, I thought this ride looked just good from watching POV videos of it. No, this ride is elite in every way. Ghost Rider just does everything right. Number 14 is Phantom's Revenge at Kennywood. This ride is an absolute beast. It is an airtime machine. It's glass, smooth, and has some of the best lap bars that you'll ever find on a roller coaster. Gotta love that second drop down into the ravine under Thunderbolt. This ride has insane speed from start to end. The airtime that this ride gives is next level good. Phantom's Revenge alone is well worth going to Kennywood for. And since I still haven't ridden Wildcat's Revenge yet, as of this recording, this is my favorite coaster in Pennsylvania. Number 13 is Maverick at Cedar Point. This ride is small in size, but it is a powerhouse. It has a beyond vertical drop, some great snap turns, and an awesome launch out of the barn. It has ejector airtime, which you might not expect for a ride like this. Probably my favorite moment though is the Stangle Dive. Such a whippy moment. Intamin LSM launch coasters are always great, and this one is no exception. And I'd like to give a quick shout out to my good friend Beyond the Thrills, as this is his favorite roller coaster. Number 12 is Twisted Timbers at King's Dominion. I first rode this last year in 2022, and got to experience it again this year. I liked it last year, but oh my gosh, this ride was absolutely flying when I rode it this year. The airtime is way better than it appears off-ride. It's glass smooth and hauls the mail the entire time. I really like the barrel roll drop and the trick track double up. The 3 big airtime hills on the back side of the ride really toss you up hard. This layout isn't too different from the original Hurler's layout, but they just improved it in every way possible when they converted it. Back seat is by far the best on this one. Number 11 is a ride very similar to Twisted Timbers. It's Storm Chaser at Kentucky Kingdom. This ride shares a lot of similarities with Twisted Timbers. It also has the barrel roll drop and trick track double up, but Storm Chaser cranks up the aggressiveness even further. Storm Chaser's speed is also insane. This ride feels like it runs way too fast for its own good. Every time I go to this park, this ride is always flying. I don't know how or why it runs this way, but it really adds to the experience. It isn't the longest RMC, but it definitely is one of the most aggressive. Making the top 10 is Iron Rattler at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. 3 RMCs in a row, and this one is supremely underrated. I had heard going into it that it was good, but a little overrated. No. This ride is elite, world class without a doubt. The first drop is one of the best on any coaster. I love how it drops down off the quarry wall and twists while it goes down. Not to mention it does it again later into a tunnel. Also, the 0G roll going back up onto the wall is awesome, one of the best inversions on any RMC. Sure, it may run a little slow in the morning, but if you get a full train in the afternoon, evening, or night, this ride runs much faster. This ride is so good it's addicting. Number 9 is the Voyage at Holiday World. Now, some people will think I'm insane for not having this in the top 5. This ride is amazing, it really is. However, when I went back and rode it this year, I wasn't quite as impressed with it as I have been before. Therefore, I dropped it slightly in my rankings compared to where it used to be. That being said, Voyage is still an unbelievable ride. It is stupidly long, twice as long as most roller coasters. I love how it's super low to the ground at times, and other times high off of it. The layout is so well done, and if you can ride it at Hollywood Nights, trimless, that is one of the all-time best coaster experiences you will ever have. Number 8 is Fury 325 at Carowinds. This is undoubtedly my favorite B&M coaster. It has ranked as the #1 steel coaster for 7 straight years now, and I can understand why. As with Orion, the drop on this ride is phenomenal. It just keeps on going. You feel a great sense of speed on this ride. It has more airtime than you think it has, especially towards the end. Really good sustained floater. I also really enjoy the hive dive as well. My opinion on Fury has stayed pretty consistent over the past few years. I always look forward to riding Fury 325. Taking the number 7 spot is El Toro at Six Flags Great Adventure. I got the chance to ride this last year, and prior to that, it was my top bucket list coaster for a long time. And let me tell you, this ride was everything I had hoped for and more. The airtime on this ride is ridiculous. It throws you up so hard it hurts. The first drop in the back is insane. It's so steep. The layout is a combination of an out and back coaster with a twister coaster in the best way possible. Now, since I rode it last year, I've heard from people that it has gotten rougher and that the airtime isn't as good now, so maybe if I go back and ride it again, it might drop in my rankings, but just basing it off of my experiences on it last year, El Toro is an elite roller coaster. Number 6 is Jurassic World Velocicoaster at Universal's Islands of Adventure. I'll tell you, due to some unfortunate circumstances, I only got to ride this once, but that one ride was so memorable. This is about as perfect as it gets for a roller coaster. It has some amazing launches, next level theming, and a perfect combination of elements. The second half I thought was better than the first half. Loved the top hat, the stall, and of course the Mosasaurus roll. One of the single best inversions of all time. I desperately need to ride this coaster again, and I think when I do, it'll probably shoot into my top 5. Velocicoaster was the most hyped up roller coaster in years, and it delivered on every account. Making the top 5 is Lightning Rod at Dollywood. This is far and away my most ridden roller coaster. For years, this was my number 1, but with the changes that Dollywood has implemented, and with the fact that it has gotten pretty rough in certain spots, that is why I finally decided to move it down. However, this ride still is world class, one of the most aggressive roller coaster experiences you can get. From start to brakes, it never lets up. The wave turn is fantastic, and of course the quad down. That part is mental. Now, as of 2024, Lightning Rod is having its launch replaced with a high-speed chain, so while it is unfortunate that it is losing its launch, it'll help improve its reliability drastically. We'll just have to wait and see if the change makes Lightning Rod better or not. Number 4 is my favorite new for 2023 coaster I got to experience, Air Force One at Fun Spot America Atlanta. From the moment this ride was announced, I was stoked to ride it. I went on its opening day and have ridden it a whole bunch of times since. The airtime that this ride has is bonkers on another level. The double up in particular is so sustained it's amazing. The 6 ending airtime hills are so strong they can hurt your thighs, but in a good way. Also, the 4 inversions are some of the best inversions you can get on a roller coaster. The stall is amazing, it's great hang time, and the arcade roll is so unbelievably whippy. This ride is next level good. I did not expect Air Force One to be better than Velocicoaster or Lightning Rod, but it is. It alone is worth going to this park for. I'm so fortunate to have this ride just a couple hours away. So now we're at the top 3, and I really had to think hard about this. These 3 are all interchangeable. On any one day, I could have one of these as my number 1, just as much as I could the other 2. But here they are. Coming in at number 3 is Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point. I was blown away by this ride when I rode it in 2019. For starters, you got one of the best first drops ever. You then proceed to experience the most airtime on any roller coaster, period. Over 27 seconds that you're out of your seat. That's nearly a third of the ride. That is just insane. I love how you weave in and out of the structure, never losing steam. The inversions are snappy as heck. What more needs to be said about this ride? It's easily one of the world's best roller coasters. Steel Vengeance is an absolute masterpiece. At number 2 is Intimidator 305 at King's Dominion. Holy crap, this ride is the definition of intense. I was actually kind of scared the first time I rode this that it was going to be too much for me to handle. That was in 2022. Then I got back to ride it again this year, and it was even better this time than it was before. Love, love, love the snap turns on this coaster. That is what makes this ride so special. No ride keeps its speed like I-305 does. It just zips through its layout from drop to brakes, never letting up. It is impossible not to gray out on this ride. I actually blacked out when I rode it again this year. It is that intense. I was very tempted to put this at my number 1, and to be honest, on a given day, it might be my number 1. But as of right now, that honor belongs to Iron Gwazi at Busch Gardens, Tampa. This ride took my breath away every time I rode it. For starters, the drop feels like you're falling out of the sky, like a meteor shower or something like that. It might as well be the best first drop ever. This ride throws you all over the place. The death roll is one of the fastest paced inversions on Earth. I was actually scared for my life during that element. The airtime on this thing is cranked up to an 11. When you hit the brake run, you're asking yourself what just happened. Your brain is wondering if you're upside down or right side up. It may not be as long as Steel Vengeance, but it is just more aggressive throughout its layout. That is why Iron Gwazi is currently my number 1 roller coaster. So that is my top 25. Obviously, I haven't ridden every single amazing roller coaster out there, but I like to think I've experienced a lot of the really notable ones. Remember, this is just my list as of now. It is always changing. Depending on how I experience a ride, it may jump up or move down on my list. That's just how it goes. Having said that, I'd love to hear what your favorite roller coasters are. Have you ridden all of these, or are you wanting to experience some of these? Let me know all that down below. Thank you all for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you all for a great 2023. I look forward to bringing you all more content in the future. I'll see you all in 2024. This is Coasters and Things, signing out.